The infamous Mr. Phil Brown. Thank you very much for coming. Not in the slightest chance did I think he would turn around,
didn't hesitate,
and walk in the dressing room and go. And I'm stood at the back like this, going, "Wow."
Ricky had 10,000 leaflets of my statement of what I said, printed and sent it round the stadium.
The pressure put on him by the players of PSG, outrageous.
I was going to lie down and not a chance. I said, well, that front four, they're going to go in the face of Man United. And sure enough, as eggs were eggs, bang, straight went in the face of the opposition.
Did you learn your skills, Phil, from Sam?
Yeah, I blame him for everything.
And this is what Ethan wants to know.
Come on.
What's your favourite cheat meal? What's your favourite takeaway?
Ooh.
I'll get yours as well, Phil.
That's a new one on me, that is. The players watching Jeremy Kyle in the morning.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill. Hey Sam, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Yes, very good. I'm very much looking forward to this episode today because I feel like there's going to be lots of stories.
Ooh. Well, we go way back.
Oh,
I mean, way back. So it's a good one. I'm so pleased he's made the journey up today from down south, like I mean. So it's my pleasure to introduce my former player when I was manager of Blackpool, who became my assistant manager and then assistant manager at Bolton Wanderers, the infamous Mr. Phil Brown. Thank you very much for coming.
No problem.
Yeah.
the infamous Mr. Phil Brown.
Former player, let me tell you the story when we first start, where my transition from a player to a coach.
Okay.
Because I didn't become assistant manager. I wanted the assistant manager's job. Remember this one, Sam?
Yeah.
And Sam was going, no, you can't have the assistant manager. You can't have the assistant. It was for distinguished people like Bobby Saxton. Bobby Saxton had just lost his job and I was replacing Bobby Saxton. Now,
This is at Blackpool, this.
This is Blackpool.
Yeah.
What a big pair of shoes to fill, by the way. And I'm taking you back maybe 4 years before that when I was going out the game. Guaranteed, Sam, you'll know the story. I was going out the game. This was my trade, the pub industry. I had a nightclub, I had a restaurant, I had a bar. And I was just going out the game. And then Bruce Rioch said to me, you know, the game of football is yours. You know, you've been there for 15, 16 years. Get your badges done. And I actually went to do the certificate. Remember the certificate of applied manager?
That's right, yeah.
The certificate of applied management in Warwick University. And that was the first step into this sort of life that we were going to lead for the next, 25 years. So I started there. And then, fortunately, having Bruce Rioch left to go to Arsenal from Bolton Wanderers, I left to go to Blackpool. And that's where I met the big man. And then Sacco lasted about 6 months. He went toe to toe with Billy Bingham, didn't he?
Yeah. It was a case of this. Bobby Saxton had many managing roles. Fantastic guy.
Plymouth, Blackburn.
Exactly what I needed to guide me in my first job as a manager. But used to get very frustrated with Billy Bingham, who used to be the director of I had a director of football way back then.
Aye.
And they clashed. And they forced him out. And of course, Bobby said, you know, you stay, I'll go. Don't worry about that, like you mean. So Phil, I know, wanted to get into coaching. So that's when I gave him the opportunity to jump in.
And listen to it, Natalie. I get a phone call. It's Thursday night. 2 days before a game, as we well know, 48-hour curfews on the alcohol, etc., etc. Brownie, Big Sam, where are you? And I'm thinking, he's my manager. I was a player then. He's my manager. I'm in the snooker club at Bolton. Right, that's a 2 weeks' wages fine. That was the first thing. That's a 2 weeks' wages fine. Right, I'll be down there in 5 minutes. And sure enough, we both lived in Bolton. He jumped in his car, came down. And that was the first time I'd heard that Sacco had lost his job. And I'm filling a pair of boots there straight away. I mean, that was, you know, in my opinion, a legend of the game. And Sam was going to more than emulate that, but he was in the early stages as a manager himself. So basically it was two fairly young men coming together.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And
he just said, so what wages are you on, Brownie? I said, Sam, I'm on the best wages I've ever had, even at Bolton Wanderers. I was on £1,000 a week. And he went, right, okay, that's the bad news is you're on £1,000 a month now. if you take the job as a coach, you're on £1,000 a month. So I had to go back and think long and hard about it. But the words that rung in my ear, and this is a true story. The words that rung in my ear were, His sales pitch was brilliant. The money was rubbish. Never underestimate the offer of a coaching position. You get on the ladder, and then you've got to back yourself. That was his sales pitch, and I backed myself. And a year later, I was at Bolton Wanderers in the Premier League.
He was gutted he didn't get the job. I mean, you should have seen his face.
Were you assistant at Bolton at the time?
I walked in, me and Lynn and him and Karen, I walked in and he had a face, him and Karen had a face like a slap back to him. And I said, look, listen, I know you're disappointed, but, you know, if you want the manager's job, you'll get one. As long as it's not a year.
Listen, it was the coming together. And I honestly thought at the time, I don't know whether you were thinking the same thing, it was almost like a force to be reckoned with, you know. I had ideas. Sam had ideas. He was driving the train. We used to always talk about the train and the train journey and the train driver. He was the driver. He was the manager. We were on the train. And he used to say, you can get off at any time you want. This is where I'm going. You can get off at any time you want. And that included players. That included wives, if necessary. That included the backroom staff. But he was just building something that was going to be a force to be reckoned with. So he wanted to be a part of it. It was a brilliant dream that was becoming reality in front of our eyes. And it was brilliant. Honestly, Natalie, it was fabulous at the time to be involved in it. Crazy, mental. Used to go to places like Chelsea and turn them over. Go to places like Arsenal, get under Arsene Wenger's skin. Nobody ever did that as well as anybody than Sam. And then go to places like Manchester United. We'll tell you the story when you probably start asking. You haven't even asked the question yet.
I knew this was going to be a story-filled episode.
We'll tell you the story about Manchester United.
Go. Tell.
When
we'll have it.
We prepared for Manchester United one time. Madness, crazy. He just said, Brownie, what we doing in the diary the week before the United game? And I've gone, nothing planned. It was like, right, check out the lakes, the Lord Hotel at the lakes. And I'm saying, what's your plans? He said, we'll take them up there, do a little bit of team building. We'll need to build up some strength and character, you know. We had energy levels. You could measure how far we were running against anybody. Yeah. And we were running teams off the park. Whether we had the quality to win the game was a different argument. But we were fitter than anybody, and we could run teams off the park. And all these stats that people are coming out with nowadays started early doors, late 90s, going into 2000. Innovators, as the great word. Anyway, so I check out the Lowood Hotel. We can get it for 3 days, and we can get this team building exercise going for 3 days. What we were doing was building rafts to sail across Windermere. We were going on paintball was just to sort the teams out. We're going 3 groups of 8, 3 groups of 9. Toilet racing. You ever heard of that one?
I've never heard
toilet
of
racing.
What is toilet? What's toilet
got
racing?
Wheels on the toilet.
You get a toilet, literally a toilet, and all you've got is an engine running, and you've got to release the brake, and the wheels just start. So you've got 4 wheels on it, and we built this track inside with haystacks inside the hotel, and we were doing race. It was brilliant.
Can you give me some player names so I can imagine these players doing it?
Paul Warhurst, Dean Holsworth, Ian Marshall. You know, crazy. They were enjoying it. They were really. Bo Hansen. Bo Hansen. You talk about a moaning Danish. We had 4 Danish players, and one of the biggest moaners in the game was Bo Hansen. Yeah. And when we get on this journey, I'm on the coach. Sam's taking his car because he's meeting a player on Thursday, hopefully to strengthen the squad. So his plans were, I'm not going on the coach. Take the players there. I'll meet you at the Lowood. Sure enough, we met him at the Lowood. I phoned Big Man. You can't believe the moaning that's going on, Sam. What do you mean? Bo Hansen, you want to hear this? And I'm giving them the telephone. Oh, what we doing this for? What we doing it? Remember it? Yeah. On the way back, after 3 days in the lakes, not just crazy drinking or anything daft like that, team building. It was really togetherness. Yeah. And we're playing Manchester United on Saturday, by the way, at Old Trafford. And I phoned Sam up. Sam's meeting this player. And I said, Sam, listen to this. Oh, that was brilliant. The noise level and the energy that was created from these 3 days in the lakes was off the scale. And I'm saying, listen to this, Sam. Half an hour later, they're gone. They were
like taking kids.
They were shattered. They were literally shattered. And he went, and his infinite wisdom, trust me on this one, he went, just give him the day off tomorrow. And I'll go, excuse me? Just give him we hadn't done any prep.
You wanted the Friday?
We hadn't done any. Okay. The players didn't want it. He was just saying, just give him the day. They've done more work and done the energy levels and the thought process of what we just give them Friday. So give him Friday off. We meet at the Reebok Stadium on the Saturday. He does about 45 minutes on a flip chart with a video and stuff like that on preparation for playing Manchester United. We beat Man United 2-1.
What?
Kevin Nolan scored the winner.
We never...
No,
Ricketts scored the winner.
Michael Ricketts, yeah.
And that was back when they were dead good.
Nolan scored the equaliser. But go through the process of, we could have been on the training ground 4 or 5 days a week, working on set pieces, working on this, that and the other. Michael Ricketts, you tell him something, if he didn't have to work hard for it, he'll do it. If he thought it was a winning goal in the end of it, he'll do it. Yeah. So all of this thing. And Michael Ricketts, we were like watching these crosses coming into our penalty box at 1-1, 80 minutes on the clock, Natalie. Cross. Jaskalainen catches the ball. Yeah. And we're thinking, just dropping it. Just lie on it for 5 seconds. We were trying to catch your breath.
Yeah.
He only kicks it straight down the field. And he spotted a one-on-one, Ricketts and Wes Brown.
Yeah, Wes. Yeah.
And Wes Brown, instead of just heading it back, chests it down, or tries to chest it down, he chests it up. Ricketts heads it over the top of him, puts it past Fabian Barthez, but he's finished, if you remember it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And he's gone in, where'd you get that finish? He's gone, after the game, where'd you get that finish from? Sports science lads told me he was weak up to his right-hand side. And he's put it into the left-hand top. So they listened to what you were telling them. The information, you didn't just have to run them crazy. They actually took on board what you were saying. And more importantly, this team-building exercise, 3 days in the lakes, and you've gone to Manchester United on Saturday and beaten United at Old Trafford.
So this is the key.
That's innovation at its finest.
Dislocated expectation.
Absolutely.
Dislocated
expectation, something they never expected, instead of the old routine that's repetition, the boundary. So it changes the brain matter in terms of how you're thinking, because I'm like that. I can't do the same all the time. I can't be repetitive. I have to do different things, you know what I mean? So other people like that routine. So you have to learn that some people like that routine, so you don't disturb them too much just now and again. People who can change all the time and adjust, you can find out whether you can do that or whether they don't, like you mean.
I knew this was just going to be a podcast full of brilliant stories. I'm very much looking forward to it. Tell us what you're up to now, Phil.
I'm working just media, I'm going games, because I played in 3 divisions, and because I managed in all the divisions down to the National League, even from the Premier League to the National League, the media outlets are using me to do radio work. Not so much TV. I haven't got the face for that now.
Right. Listen to Brown.
No, it's cool. I'm loving it.
Coolest man on earth.
I was at Oxford Bolton last night. I'm doing Manchester United Bournemouth in a couple of weeks' time. So that shows you the diversity of it. I'm doing the FA Cup. I'm at Aldershot. I know the managers that are bopping around, Tommy Widrington. Tommy Widrington's doing Aldershot, and they beat Swindon Town 7-3, 7-4 in the last game in the FA Cup.
Wow.
And Will, the crack. Tommy Widrington phones me up. Brownie, what are you doing? I'm out of work. Are you applying for jobs? Yeah. He said, well, if you get one, he said, I'll come and work with you, no problem. Geordie lad, I'll come and work with you, no problem. He said, we seem to get on great together. I've got no aspirations about management at all. 2 weeks later, he gets the Aldershot job. Oh, yeah.
Are you applying for jobs? Do you want to get back into management?
Of course he does.
It's... He'll tell you the stories about the jobs, and his education of me goes far beyond an apprenticeship. That we're talking about a friendship that lasted a long time and been through the mill together. And the advice I got from him at times was, anyway, once you get the bug, Brownie, that'll be it. And I've said this last week, and we did a Q&A in Cirencester, and I said, Sam offered me my biggest regret was Sam offered me the assistant manager's job at Sunderland. Sunderland's my club. I've supported Sunderland since I was a boy, and he offered me the job, and I was still entrenched in management, and I turned him down.
Southend,
Southend, and I turned him down for a stay at Southend. What a bad move. But the words, once it's in you,
I get you.
You know what I mean.
You'll really, always go back.
It's really difficult, but if I was ever going to work for somebody or with somebody, it'll be Sam.
Even worse. if he'd have come with me, he'd have been England coach.
Don't kill me with that one. Don't kill me with that one.
There'd have been no doubt I'd have probably taken him with me when I got the England job. If it had been with me at Sunderland when I got the England job, there probably wouldn't have been a doubt about it.
To be fair,
Sorry,
that's a great part of your life, isn't it? A great part of your career.
Yeah.
You know, keeping Sunderland, I mean, they still speak so highly of them up there. And it was only there for a year, just under a year, weren't you? And
I only got there in November. Ellis Short, who's I've spoke many a time about how to get on with your owners, about the relationship you build with your owners, not friendships, relationships.
Have you done that book yet? How to get on with your owners? That's an absolute no-brainer.
Most of the time when I talk about managing, which is head coaching now, isn't it? And they've changed that. They've changed that narrative, sadly. Owners and more. It's difficult to get to the direct with the owners in the Premier League because they're not there most of the time now. But the actual hierarchy, the CEO, the chief executive, the financial director, the director of football, the head of analysis, probably the head of recruitment. Your relationship, you build a relationship with them to then go. But Ellis Short was the owner then, and my Ellis was in London, so my responsibility was to deal with the day-to-day. But we went on a journey with him, with Ellis, because in January he bought 4 players for me. I think I've said this before. Steve Parish bought me 4 players at Crystal Palace because our relationship building, my ability to, God knows where it comes from, but my ability to convince that this is what we need, obviously is perhaps a strength of mine that you don't know about. You get on with your job, you look back and you say, why and how have you achieved this? I don't know how I've achieved it. I just have.
You're both very good with words, we know that, but you're also very good at both really well known for your team talks.
Yeah, I like a good team talk, yeah.
Did you learn your skills, Phil, from Sam?
Yeah, I blame him for everything.
I think I learned. We all learn off the experience of our careers. The experience of how many managers we've had, how many coaches we've had, how many clubs we've had. You know, Phil talks about, playing in every league, playing non-league. How many managers has he had? How many coaches? I've had the same. Non-league, played in every division, managed in every division, managed in non-league. So played in America. So we've had all this experience that the good and the bad. You filter out the good and the bad. So if I become a manager, I'm not going to ever do that. Yeah. What he did to me, I would not want to do to any player.
Yeah.
I mean, a player would have to do something outrageously bad for me to treat him like that. But telling him the truth about he's not good enough or not, yeah, and get yourself fixed up at another club and do it quickly because there's no longer a career for you here. And that decision just doesn't come overnight. That comes over a period of time when you've given him enough opportunities to break into the team to prove his worth or not. But then you have to be the ruthless side of, you have to cut him, like I mean. So you'd learn with them all them experiences, and out of all them experiences, you then must, as all ex-managers, old managers told me, you must manage your own way. Yeah. You must do it your way. Don't be doing it like other managers that think you're mentoring him, you're following. Do it. You take from their experience, but you do your own thing. Like I mean,
you do find your own way. I remember I overstepped the mark probably, if I can think off the top of my head, probably twice with regards to, and I'm talking about assistant manager putting your head above the parapet. That's a different argument. So you put your head above the parapet, you get it shot off. But if the manager's shooting off, you've stepped over the line. And I remember at the end of one game, Sunderland away, where we got beat 1-0, and Sam had said his piece, and he said, "Brownie, do you want to say anything?" And I went for one player, and I went for him in a big way. Remains nameless, but I went for this player, and I remember the big man. He's bigger than me, so I'm facing the players, and all of a sudden, Sam's actually in front of me now, and he's saying, "Brown, too far, Brown. But once you're there, it's very difficult to pull yourself back, let alone because you get involved in the situations. You're also emotional about, well, if I stop now, I'm not making me points. So, that was just the way I was brought up. So I kept on going, and too far, but it was getting louder. And he was getting bigger.
I love that he calls you Brown as well. Yeah.
But he was getting bigger. And next thing I'll just see Sam in front of me. I can't even see the player. But it was, that was just me learning my trade then. When you've stepped over the line and it's too many times, you're out then, and you're not adding to the manager. You're not helping the manager. Then you just need to get your own train then and drive your own train.
Is it true that you once got, I've forgotten his name, Jeremy Kyle, to do a team talk for you?
I got the kit man once.
Right, we need that story in a minute. Right, Phil.
I bumped into Jeremy Kyle in the, John will know the place, Cheltenham Racecourse Owners and Trainers Bar.
Lovely.
And it's after a festival race, and he's a big wig, guaranteed. And I didn't realise he was that heavily involved in horse racing. But he was there holding court, and I was in there. And he came across to me, and I didn't realise you were involved in horse racing, blah, blah, blah. So he started talking horse racing, basically. And eventually, I realised he seems a decent fella, this. So we had a couple of nights out, and I said, really having a problem with your players. With my players at the time at Southend. He said, what's the problem? I said, they come in every morning and they're talking about you. And he's like, what?
How sad's that one, by the way?
I've never heard
that one. That's a new one on me, that is. The players watching Jeremy Kyle in the morning.
But they're watching how he deals with things and how he goes on about, this, that and the other, blah, blah, blah. So I said, you wouldn't do us a favour, come in and do a team talk, will you? And he went, you serious? I said, I can't remember who we were playing. It was Peterborough. Peterborough at Southend. Yeah. Well, he would not have been, this is a beautiful studio, by the way. He would not have been used to, if you cordon that area off there, that was the full size of our change room at Southend. It was tiny. And he walked in. And I've just seen a group of players that I thought, wow, Anton Ferdinand, people like...
Oh, God, Anton Ferdinand.
They started moving back, and you can't move any further back. But then they're sort of splattering themselves up against the wall. Yeah. He didn't see it. He was as nervous as them. So when he came in and he was like about to deliver something, he didn't realise how much fear was in there. Didn't matter what he had said, Sam. He could have gotten away with it, them kind of reactions. And I'm standing behind him going... What? This is unusual. So I dragged him back out into my office and I went, how do you think that went? He went, I was rubbish. I couldn't actually do that. If it had been on the TV, he said my show would have been crushed. But sure enough, he was panicking. He was nervous about a group of players. And we were, first division at the time? So the third tier of English football. Big players.
Wow.
Anton Ferdinand's a big player.
What was the score?
What was the score?
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't win. And I blamed him in the press. we drew 1-1.
Please excuse me, I just want to stop this episode quickly because Big Sam and I just want to say a huge thank you to you for supporting No Tippy Tappy Football, whether you are listening or watching or doing both. Sam and I absolutely love doing this podcast and we couldn't do it without you. So take a second, please, and subscribe or follow wherever you are watching or listening to us. We're also on Twitter, No Tippy Tappy Football, and we have our own YouTube channel. I know everybody says it, but it really would mean a lot to us, and it means that we can keep getting bigger and better guests the more followers and the more subscribers we have. And then you can go and tell all your mates that you've done Big Sam a favour. So thank you for listening. And you had a kit man do a team talk.
Yeah, Pete at West Ham. Pete's been kit man for God knows how many years.
He's a character, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Years and years and years. You started off as the assistant kit man and he must have spent a good 15 years, maybe, I don't know, maybe less, maybe longer, being assistant kit man before his ultimate goal was realised. That's how long the first sort of kit man was in that position. And he nearly got overlooked by the manager previously when that kit man left and they wanted to bring a new one in, and eventually I think the player said, Pete's got to have a chance, So, and with a particular game, I can't remember the exact game, but it's our half time when we're coming in and it's not gone so well. and the players are moaning about the fans getting on the back, like you mean. And Pete's going, what are they on about, Gaffer? What I mean, I said, go and tell them, Pete. Not in the slightest chance did I think he would turn around,
Didn't hesitate,
and walk in the dressing room and go. And I'm stood at the back like this, going, wow. Unbelievable. Who do you think you are? You play for West Ham. Don't listen to the fans. You get out there and get them cheering. The only way you'll get them cheering if you start playing better. The only way they're booing you is because you're playing crap. So stop playing crap and play better. Like, you mean, and out they go. Like, I went, wow, man. Like, you know, what on the just to listen in my ear, like you mean, and just say, well, go on, Pete, like you mean, go on, give it to him. And him going, no, Gaffer, I'll leave that to you. Like, as you turned around, he went, it was just unbelievable. Like,
and can you remember the score?
I think we won the game, but you know what
2-0
I mean?
down at half time.
Yeah. He's now in management.
Senior manager.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. Phil, I'm not going to ask you about the famous team talk on the pitch, which, by the way, I was there in the crowd.
Were you?
At City, yeah. I'm not going to ask you about it because I imagine you're sick of talking about it after all these years, but I am going to ask Sam about it. Sam, what did you think when you saw... Yeah.
What are you doing? But I have to say, it suits him. It suits his character, to be fair. You know what I mean? It suits him to do something off the wall. Like, I mean, what Brian should have done was grab him by the arm and saying, what are you doing, Brown? Get yourself...
Brown.
Yeah, get your team in here and sort them out, like I mean. But you listen, he's famous saying, stick your head above the parapet. And he did it.
Yeah.
And be brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
And then you have to take the fallout after and the stick after that you get. But if you think it was the right thing to do at the time, you've got to take the chance. You can't. If you never take a chance, you'll never succeed. So
I used to learn from him about high risk strategy, when to play it, and at the start of that season, we survived that year. So we've got to hold that thought, you know, whether it be Man City with a £33 million striker at the time.
Who was that? Joe?
Robinho
was there at the time. Was he? Wow.
And we had a £16.5 million budget, so he's worth twice as much as our budget. Don't work it out that way. Just work it out the way we were uncharacteristic in our first half performance, and that's something that you aim for. You, in the light of your character, that's your team, isn't it? You know. So, yeah. And when they don't represent you to the best of their ability, or in the same character, or the same characterable performance, shall I say, then you do something about it. And I thought that high risk strategy. We had got 20 points from the first 9 games, top 3.
I texted him and said, you're nearly safe already.
Nearly safe already. And them words ring in your ears, because you know if it's a 40-point strategy, which it was, if truth be known, we survived on 35. So we needed another 15. We didn't know that at the time, but we needed another 15 after 9 games. You don't realise that. Sunderland was our 10th game. We got beat 2-0. And again, I'll talk about a high-risk strategy there. I was asked by the media guy before the game, Ricky Sabraghi was manager, and I was asked about Sunderland being my club. So I was asked, and all of a sudden I dropped my management guys and I went into supporter. And I said, oh no, they've underachieved over the last few years. They should have done this, they should have done that. Like an idiot, I'm talking like a supporter now and saying what Ricky Sabraghi should have. It's not my job. I'm a manager. I'm the manager of the team that's coming in. Ricky had 10,000 leaflets of my statement of what I said, printed and sent it around the stadium. And I'm in the press conference afterwards and we got beat 1-0. And I thought, that's brilliant. Well played. He absolutely turned the whole stadium, which I used to stand in, turned the whole stadium against me. So it didn't matter how well we were playing, how bad we were playing. We lost the game, and that was the start of a fight every game. Everyone started to respect us. Instead of them first 9 games, nobody respected us. Hull City, going to get relegated. 104 years in the lower divisions, going to get relegated. So nobody used to prepare. And then next thing you know, Harry at Portsmouth, beat with 3-0, prepared, played diagonal balls against us. We couldn't cope with it. There was all sorts of things that was signs that the tactics were coming up to, you know, you're starting to think some managers are actually doing the homework here and seeing where our weaknesses were. Anyway, long story short, you get to Christmas and we were probably 28 points or something like that. And we're 4-0 down. And I found out a couple of players had been out the night before. It was at Christmas, because it was Boxing Day. If you were in the stand,
Was it Jimmy Bullard?
no, Jimmy was there the next year. Jimmy wasn't there at the time.
Oh, really?
Jimmy did the team talk the following year when we got
Nick Barmby there.
Barmby was there.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that was right up Nicky Street. Nicky Barmby and people like him, Ian Ashby, in that change room, they would actually be galvanised by that kind of thing. So the high risk strategy was to get the players who weren't towing the line in tow again because they were believing the headlines,
You've been mentioning that you are doing a bit of punditry. You're in the media at the minute. You were at Oxford versus Bolton last night. So we're filming this on the Wednesday morning. So you won't have seen the Newcastle game. I haven't seen the Newcastle game because I was at Manchester City versus Leipzig last night. So Sam, this is all falling on you. What do you make of what happened in the Newcastle
the
game
highest
last night?
level where the rules set up by FIFA, UEFA and the governing bodies of football, in all honesty, are becoming an absolute joke, I have to say. I mean, not only are we seeing it every week in the Premier League, and probably we're seeing it down the line in all divisions now. But I mean, obviously they're still refereeing on instinct and what they see, but I also think it's having an effect on them. But they don't have VAR, but all the ones in the Premier League, and certainly last night, renowned, been promoted as one of the best referees in the world, ultimately got called over to VAR, which he shouldn't have done, because the ball hit his chest and hit his arm. So that isn't a penalty. But still got called over by the VAR representative at the time. And he went over and looked at it and gave a penalty. Now, I can only go on human error. The pressure put on him by the players of PSG, outrageous. And I mean outrageous. This is the goalkeeper running 75 yards. The players surrounding him and hounding him, not just on this instant, by other instances, because there'd been exactly the same instance happened before that there wasn't looked at when the penalty where it hit his body, hit his arm. So he's made two differentials in the same game. But this is pure not being able to cope with the pressure he'd been putting under. It's big enough, the pressure of handling a Premier League, Champions League game anyway. But this was one that PSG had won by manipulating the referee subconsciously to go along with the pressure he'd been put under to make the wrong decision. And it's been well talked about this morning all over the place. And of course, it needs to be looked at. Now they've stood down the lad from VAR, where realistically they should stand down the referee as well.
In the middle,
because ultimately it's his decision in the end. I mean, it should never. The VAR lad should say, "Get on with it. It's not a penalty. Your first decision was right." And then the next decision was calling him over. So he called him over to have a look at it. And then he made the wrong decision as well. And that's reverberated across all of Europe. And it's what people are not talking about is this. Luckily for Newcastle United, it wasn't the difference between qualifying and not to go to the next round. You imagine if they were 1-0 up in injury time, and those 3 points got them into the knockout stages, and that decision went against them.
Natalie, can I ask
consequences
Sam,
of that?
just as a former Newcastle manager, if you're doing a school report on Eddie Howe, what would you say? What would you be saying? Yeah, how well is he doing?
Well, Eddie for one hasn't. We did our research when we got into Europe, innit? For one, he hasn't got a big enough squad, Phil. He just doesn't have. He just doesn't have
the rigours of the Premier League.
He doesn't have a big enough squad to cope with that pressure on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night in Europe. The expectation, the travel, the mental side of it, and then come and play in the Premier League at the weekend after that, and that is not going to be. It's not going to be accepted by the Newcastle press or the Newcastle fans if it slightly goes the other way.
Mm. So,
in terms of what he's done is outstanding, and they're still growing. And I only hope that the owners behind him realise what a fantastic season they're having again. You know what I mean? And it would have been great to have gone out of the Champions League on beating PSG at PSG, one of the wealthiest clubs in the world now. But you can take great pride in what they've done. He is built on basis of good, solid experience, a very good defensive team. Now, Natalie is sick of me hearing this.
Never, Sam.
She's sick of me hearing about how good defences need to be and how poor defences are in today's football. The strategy of his good defensive work and his better attacking play with better quality players now, by far, is matching up why Newcastle are doing so well, why they got in the Champions League, why they finished 4th last year. But that squad is thin to play in the Champions League.
I guess it's tough for you because you've already said you're a Sunderland fan. Are you absolutely hating Newcastle doing so well?
Am I? Say that again?
Are you disliking how well Newcastle are currently doing?
Oh, it's a strange one, Natalie. I'm not actually. I'm actually enjoying the fact that I'm fascinated by the Northeast, being from there first and foremost, but how it survives. Just the shipyards closed down, the mining industry closed down. Football is now the biggest commodity in Newcastle, and it's a fortune to become a season ticket holder. They're talking about it's a 55,000 seater stadium. They're going to extend it to 75, 80,000. So the demand is still up there. Where do they get their money from? Is how they survive is just quite phenomenal. They're a rare breed.
Have they bought the stadium, Phil?
Aye.
They have bought the stadium. Yeah. Oh, wow.
So they're a rare breed of supporters that will follow you through thick and thin, as you well know.
Absolutely.
Both at Sunderland and Newcastle, having played and managed at Sunderland as well. I mean, there's not many managers. How many managers have done Sunderland and Newcastle? You've got to be the only one.
Not many.
There can't be many more than Sam. So he knows what it's like to play up there, to manage up there. The expectation levels is sometimes beyond recognition. They're crazy at what they actually believe they can achieve, having not achieved anything for a long, long time. But I don't want to see them. I actually would like to see them finish in the Champions League. I'd like to see Newcastle finish in the top 4, so long as Sunderland get promoted.
So that's what's happened in the last few days. Let's have a look forward. So this weekend, West Ham are playing Palace. 2 of your former teams, Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a few of your former teams today.
Landon. I love Landon.
Landon.
Yeah. I lived on Tower Bridge for Crystal
Oh,
Palace.
did you know?
Me and Sammy Lee visited every restaurant in that area at night.
Wasn't in the prison,
when
was
we weren't watching. When we weren't watching a game, we used to walk on the Thames there, like you mean, and we'd sit and chew the fat like because it's just me and him, like you mean, and we're just waiting for training.
Caught and couples, you and
we weren't going. If we weren't going watching another game.
You never used to walk along the Thames with me.
No.
I used to get the Tyne or something like that.
And then Canary Wharf at West Ham, like eye opener. Oh, I enjoyed
Very
it.
nice.
Enjoyed it, like I mean. But,
Very nice.
Yeah, big. I don't know. I know Moyes has managed to start the season pretty well. I'm glad to say after Premier League a poor season, but a great history maker. By winning people call it the tag-on cup, don't they? But it wasn't a tag-on cup when you watch that final and they won it. It was magnificent for West Ham fans and for Moyes and the staff and the players, like you mean. And he started well this year, but be light on players again. Lost Mikel Antonio, innit?
So Ange is going through. Well, they've lost three in a row at the minute. Ange, see, we've all started calling him Ange, haven't we? He's got a personality, anti now. 3 in a row, and they're going to City at the weekend. I mean, is that the worst possible fixture for them? Do you think?
I don't think it is. I think it's probably the type of game that he can actually nick a result, and I don't mean win it. I think he could. The way he plays, he's not going to change. He looks like he's set in his ways. He's going to try and pass Man City off the park. Who's ever done that? There's not many teams have done that. In the first half, I mean, you were at the game last night. In the first half, what were the passing stats at half time? Because I always look at that now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Not to see, you look at that and it's sort of against what we used to talk about because we could lose a game of not football, lose a game of passing stats in the Premier League. 70-30 and we'd still get a result.
Yeah.
Because we were better than the opposition at set pieces, or we get the ball into dangerous areas and it would hurt them. Whereas the majority of teams want to pass the ball everywhere they are in the park. So where Andrew's concerned, we went to LMA get-together, and it was the annual, not the dinner, but the annual meeting down in London. And we're at the British Museum, and Ange Postecoglou was presenting. And I thought, this is going to be interesting. That's the part I wanted to hear. You know, it was all about well-being and all this kind of stuff. But you want to get to that stage where let's hear what he's got to say, because I can hear what he says to the press and the media. But where football people are concerned, sometimes you have a better conversation or a different conversation because you ask a better question. That sounds awful to the media, but it's true that he's trying to get something out of him. I think a manager, what I learned in India was when I was doing production, I was given 3 questions before a game and 3 questions after a game to the manager.
Okay.
Now, straight away, it got me thinking differently about the game of football. How can I get Sam Allardyce to say something, not controversial, but say something more meaningful, that he wants to talk to me because I'm an ex-manager about football? And then all of a sudden you forget the cameras are there and we're having a conversation, you know, that type of thing. So where Andrew was concerned, he was surrounded by football managers. Mick McCarthy was there. There was quite a few. And he was talking openly and frank, and he was talking about human things, you know, how humble, how you need to respect people. And it's not brand new on the block. It's just that's the type of person he seems to be. Then you want to know about his coaching. Then you want to know about crisis management. Because I think it's a crisis situation. So crisis management, again, if you keep on doing the things that you do before the crisis management, you start losing games of football. Something's got to change somewhere down there. Personnel have changed because of the game, the injuries to the players and the suspensions. So that's changed now. The players that have come in aren't as good as the ones that have left out. So he hasn't got 2 banks of 11 that can go and win the title, say, for instance, like Manchester City have, or Liverpool or Arsenal or teams at the top. So now he's cutting his cloth in the same way with lesser cloth, basically. And I think the game on Saturday is probably a free game. Nobody says a free game anymore. He used to say it all the time. We used to go Bolton Wanderers to Manchester, it's a free game. Yeah. Go to Man City, it's a free game. And how much
Nobody expects you to win, lads.
How much pressure that used to take off a group of players who were probably deep down inside that. They're probably breaking it a wee bit. You know, probably, this manager expects us to win. No, he's telling you, it doesn't matter. But just go and be the footballer you were on the playground and go and express yourself. So Tottenham can play. But, you know, you're coming up against a great Man City team.
Okay, before we move on to the quickfire questions, I realised, Sam, we mentioned Palace playing West Ham at weekend, and then we just, as we do, we just circled around and moved on.
But me that, you know, but
Palace have got some injuries to Toure, Eze. I'm gutted about Eze. I just brought him in my fantasy team. They're only 1 point behind Brentford, 1 point behind Chelsea in the league. How have you both rating Palace this season?
You mean the man that shouldn't have gone back to Crystal Palace? You know, the man that everybody said, what's he doing coming back? You know, you got Patrick Vieira, who's he's the new manager. Look at the way he plays, look at the type of football he plays, and then, 10 games with no wins. Now, that's a long time. That's Steve Parish being very, very
patient. You'll know better than anybody.
That's Steve Parish being very, very, very patient, by the way. Yeah. So that's how long Patrick Vieira got from Steve, because his position being put under threat, and that's why they've lasted so long. He cuts you off. You don't do the business, you're out. You'll find somebody that will. That's why he's changed managers quite regularly, So Patrick goes out, Roy comes in. What's he doing here? Why is he doing what's that? And what he's done, Roy, is like what we all do. Us old has-been managers, as everybody says, the new breed on the block. He's come in and looked at the talent and gone, this kid, he can play an awful lot better than the ones I had. So Steve Parishman's recruitment has been exceptionally good recently, along with the manager or coaches at that particular time. And Roy's gone in and looked at these and said, these can play more. And he goes and they got some great results and played some great football, and are still doing exactly the same because the quality of the player is capable of it. And I don't know why. I have to keep repeating myself over the last 15, 20 years. And the only way we get better as a manager and a coach is we get better players. And that, it still repeats itself. And you sit there and go, how long do we have to keep saying
Keep
this?
saying it, big
You know
man.
what I mean? But we have to, you know what I mean? Because it's fact.
I was at
And Roy's doing exactly the same again. Yeah. And he's looking at what Crystal Palace were capable of achieving, and he's making them achieve exactly that. Like I mean, so
Natalie, I was at Manchester United game, not in the cup, in the league on the Saturday. So in the cup, Palace were drubbed 3, might have been 4-0 on the Tuesday night. And I just do my work, and I'm looking at the teams and the changes in the team. And he changed the front 4.
Yeah.
So Palace have gone back to Manchester United, Old Trafford, on the Saturday, 4 days after being drubbed 3-0.
That's right.
And he's changed the front 4. Well, straight away, I'm dealing with, do you know Gaz Drinkwater?
Yeah.
Gaz Drinkwater sitting beside me.
He's a good friend
He's a United fan. And he's privileged United fan. He's doing the radio for Manchester. Unbelievable. He's been doing it for about 15 years, hasn't he? And he's talking, Manchester United is Manchester. Oh, it's a foregone conclusion they're going to win the game. I said, don't think that fella down there, octogenarian, by the way, I'm calling him. He's an 80-year-old fella. Don't think that fella's going to come here and lie down, do you?
Quite 80 yet, Phil.
You're going to, he's going to lie down and not a chance. I said, well, that front 4, they're going to go in the face of Man United. And sure enough, as eggs were eggs, bang, straight went in the face of the opposition. United were trying to pop the ball around at the back. Couldn't get anywhere near, thinking, where's that team we played 3 days ago? And they hadn't. Palace won 1-0.
Yeah.
Palace won 1-0. And Roy Hodgson was standing there, and I thought, he doesn't look right to run up to the touchline like a Mourinho and celebrate with the fans. But he went across and just respectfully. But one guy that never gets enough mention is he's number 2.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I know.
The one who shouts all the instructions on the touchline.
I know.
Stops. You never
You don't get enough mention and he's not getting bun down.
That's exactly right.
Been with him for a long, long time.
And I'll tell you his name in a minute. It'll come.
Lewington.
Ray Lewington. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Bail me out.
Getting a bit like
Louis.
Yeah, whereas Moyes in the other direction is still transitioning into the way that they're playing and still matching up his defence to go with it. Moyes will not be happy with how many goals. He'll be happy with the way they're playing with the ball and the way they're progressing with the ball, with the quality of player they got.
Yeah.
But he'll be very, very unhappy with the defensive work of the team at the moment. But once he gets that matched up again, because his expectation is to be finishing, near or close to European football again.
Top 6.
And that's very difficult.
Yeah.
Sure to be a cracker. Okay, it's time to move on to the quick fire questions.
Impossible.
Never quick, but we're actually going to try and make them quick this
we
week. So let's try and do our best.
I've got to get home.
Sam's wife's starting to get worried. Right. Would the both of you work together again?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes. 100%.
Lovely stuff. Okay. And we've got 3 listener questions in here as well today. We always ask our listeners if they want to ask both of you, the guest, Sam, anything. Loads came in this week. If you ever want to ask a question, you can just tweet me. I can't remember. Just put Natalie Pike in Twitter and find me. And you can tweet me a question. So we've got 3 this week. So Sam, a question from Joseph Wilkes. And this is an interesting one.
All right.
Would you be interested in the Republic of Ireland job?
Well, I would think you'd always speak to anybody, or I'd always speak to anybody if it said, what do you think? What's the chances of you coming along and managing the team and see what I do, and then go along and chat away with them? Like then you can make a more and bigger decision and better decision on what the chat's been like and what there's so many things that you need to talk about and need to understand together in terms of the way you would work and how you would work it and where you would go to be comfortable for them to be comfortable with me and say, Sam, we'd like you to get the job, or me to say, yes, I'd accept that. I'd accept that position, of course.
Oh, that was interesting. Okay, I like that question. Thanks, Joseph. Okay.
That was quite short.
That was very good. Very, very good for you, Sam. Okay.
Must be one word, Sam.
Right, what was a better achievement?
Ooh.
Sam getting Bolton into Europe, or Phil taking Hull into the Premier League?
I think where Sam was concerned and where Bolton were concerned, it was the it was the journey end for me because I was thinking, what more can we do? And it literally was, Sam's got the team into the playoffs, missed out, disaster, got the team into the playoffs again, promoted, survive. From being a yo-yo club, and I was part and parcel of that as a player, coach and manager, or assistant manager, with Bruce Rioch, with Colin Todd, and with Sam Allardyce in the 90s. Now all of a sudden it's not just survival, it's like survival, build. Europe, Bolton Wanderers in Europe. It's just a phenomenal achievement, seriously. But it was a build-up of over 6 or 7 years. For me, that was a bigger achievement. Individually, me, obviously, personally, I would say Hull City, because I wasn't with a big man then. Yeah. By the way, when he gets to Europe, I'm there, celebrating with him. When I got to the Premier League, he's on the team bus. Yeah. He's on the team bus. He came in the change room afterwards, and he said, I'm coming back and I'm celebrating.
I'm celebrating. Went back to the Grove.
Right? Night, and he celebrated with the fantastic night. Yeah. So that was
champagne night. That was.
Oh, I imagine.
So that was him supporting me as a manager, and vice versa. I think it's right that people.
Well, that was Hull City in the Premier League for the first time, wasn't it? I mean, playoffs and then staying in the Premier League. So.
Yeah. Oh, they're friends, these two. They're friends. Right. Another question. Yeah, proper actual friends. Another question from a listener, David Hopkins. Phil, do you feel that you had a fair go at the Derby job, given all of the backroom issues that were at the club?
No. I just got the Derby job at the wrong time. Oh. It was the right time for me. And again, go back to Sam, put him down as a referee on my CV. I hit the post at Burnley. Yeah. Steve Cottrell got it. I hit the post at West Bromwich Albion. Brian Robson got it, and then I got the Derby job, and I moved on quickly. And when I got the sack, 9 months down the line, Sam said, "First one on the phone." I told you, didn't I? If you become a manager, you'll get sacked. But I didn't think it was 9 months. I thought it was going to last forever. No, it was very short.
The club was in a bit of a state then, though.
The club was in an awful mess. Three of the board members got jail after I got the sack. Does a Derby fan ever cut me any slack with regards to that? No. They just don't realise how bad the club, the mess that the club was in. And I've inherited that to a certain extent, which you do as a manager. And you try and sweep clean, and it's very, very difficult.
Thank you, David Hopkins. Right, another listener question. I like this one. Sam, this is what people really juicily want to know. Juicily want to know. All your football experience, and this is what Ethan wants to know.
Come on.
What's your favourite cheap meal? What's your favourite takeaway?
Ooh.
I'll get yours as well, Phil.
My favourite takeaway?
Ooh.
Is there a few?
Well, there's Big Mac and chips. on the drive-through when I'm hungry, like you mean, and I thought, oh well,
Big Mac and chips.
I'll get Big Mac and chips. Right, which is just quick and easy, and wherever you go in the world, they taste the same. Wherever I've been in the world, Big Mac tastes the same.
Chips are mega as well.
Yes. Oh. And then I would say it's a curry.
Oh, well done, you.
What's your choice?
It's naan bread, rice, and I would say a jalfrezi, chicken jalfrezi.
Yeah.
Poppadoms?
Mango onions and chutney, Okay. And then shish kebab starter.
Making me hungry.
Bit of salad.
Making me hungry.
Bit of salad with the sauce,
Is there a kitchen here?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hungry. Phil?
I've just come back from India, so mine's a biryani, I'm afraid. Yeah. I managed Hyderabad. It's the home of the biryani. And when you get a biryani in Hyderabad, spice is unbelievable. You don't actually think in England it's a spicy dish. You think it's a rice dish.
Yeah.
But is there a sauce comes with that?
You can put a bit of sauce on it, but what they do is they cook the chicken or whatever meat that you're having with it. They cook the rice in a spicy way as well, so you don't have sometimes when you get a spoonful of rice and it just calms you down a wee bit. This rice is off the map as well as but I like spicy food, so
I can't eat a biryani without sauce.
No, without the sauce, too dry.
Yeah, it's too dry for me. Yeah.
Good question. This.
I take the nuts off as well.
Absolutely. What about you?
Chinese.
Are you?
I like salt and pepper fries, or salt and pepper chips, egg fried rice, and because I'm vegetarian, my local Chinese, I have tofu with honey and soya sauce. And honestly, it sounds weird, but it's so nice. Oh, and seaweed. But I don't think it's real seaweed. I think it's just cabbage that they fry.
It is.
What a question, Ethan. What a question.
Great question, Ethan.
Right. Last one of the day today. And finally, is there one manager in the world, or who? Let's not say who. Who is the manager in the world that you wouldn't want to get stuck in a lift with?
Stuck in a lift with? I've got to say it, Wenger. And I don't mean this in a nasty way. I did. When I first met him, Sam, I met him with Colin Todd.
Yeah.
He had just got the job because Bruce Rioch got the sack. Bruce Rioch got promoted by Bolton to Arsenal, etc., etc. And he took everybody on, and Wenger came in to replace Bruce. And then we had a breakfast. We were playing Chelsea, and we were staying at the hotel in St Albans. And me and Toddy sitting having breakfast, and all of a sudden, Arsene Wenger comes in, and he's like a professor, he's just sits beside us. He stayed with us for about 2.5 hours, talking about his plans for Arsenal. And to a man, to a word, to a promise, it had all come true, what he was giving us. And I thought, brilliant, this fella. But then we played them at Highbury, and we beat them 2-1. And I was just, as a normal manager, I went and knocked at his office, and everyone said, no, he's in his room, he's not coming in here. Why is he not coming in here? Because we beat him. And I went to his room, knocked at his door, and went in his room, and he's writing his notes down, and he ignored me. And I thought, well, okay, I wouldn't like to be stuck in a lift with you now. Because he went up in my estimations when I first met him, but he went down in my estimations the last time I met him.
Whoa.
Oh, he's a great manager, that's for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Sam?
He walked down the tunnel without shaking my hand.
Did he? Wenger did?
2 managers did that. So Benitez was the next one. We beat him at the Reebok.
Aye.
And at Bolton, we had 2 tunnels. As you well know, at the Reebok, we had a tunnel for the away team here, a tunnel for the home team here, and our benches are together. The 4th official in the middle. So I got up and walked like that, and he got up and went like that. So that's it for me.
And I remember him standing there, because he knew the cameras would then be on him.
Yeah.
And he was like, he put his hand there, and he's just looking at us. He made his point.
Thank you. I knew it.
That was a bit longer, that one.
I knew it was going to be a good, and I knew we were going to get some stories. Phil, thank you, because you've driven all the way up bright and early this morning. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.
So do I.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Early, just late notice as well. It was only a day before. Was it yesterday? I rang you.
Was it? Oh, you were good un.
Oh,
I knew we were doing.
Who let us down?
I knew he was doing note.
And he owed me one anyway, because I did his podcast last week. No, his Q&A last week down at his place, which was very, very good.
Could have been at Southern Races, though, couldn't it?
Proper friends. Thank you for joining us on
Thank
No
you.
Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill. We'll be back next week.